Life Fight with Jermaine Andre is a positive production of RareGem Productions. For previous episodes or to get new episode updates, subscribe to the Life Fight channel hosted on the Inspiration Network of OneRareGem.com. That's OneRaregem.com for the tools you need to take on your life fight. With U.S. Martial Arts Hall of Famer, 2-time world champion, 5-time U.S. champion, UFC vet, life coach, and author, Jermaine Andre. Visit JermaineAndre.com.
Hey, what's happening, everybody? Jermaine Andre here with Jermaine Andre's Life Fight. Got Rebecca back with me also.
Hi, everybody.
And today we're going to be covering a few things. The main thing we're going to try to make it to, because if we don't get too long-winded, sometimes Rebecca gets on the topic and she won't be quiet for a minute, and I can't get a word in. You know what I'm saying? But just kidding around. Martial art movie messages is something I want to cover. I think that's something that a lot of people may have missed in a lot of past movies. Is the actual message of morale. That these, not a message of morale, but numerous messages of morale that these movies try to send, and that I pick up out of them. So I'm going to go through a few of my favorite movies, and I'm going to point out these things that they try to make, that I think that they put in these movies to try to send a good message to the viewer. Mm-hmm. Well, also before that, we're going to cover an incident where a man happened to mess with the wrong mom, and he tried to pull a sexual assault, or he was pulling some sexual assault crap on some teenage girls, and mom stepped up and she turned everything on him. So we definitely want to go over that. Wow. And then, but first, before we even get into that, I do want to talk about a couple of my guys, because I like to always point out when it comes to the fight game, the fight game is something that can be really difficult. It's something that can be tricky. You got a lot of fighters out there now, especially nowadays, stepping in the cage is becoming a fad, and a lot of times there's a lot of people that get in there that probably shouldn't even be in there. Like I said, a lot of the game's been dwindled down where fans are fighters now, and that's not saying there aren't good. There are great fighters out there. And so a lot of times I like to make that point. And of course there's great fighters in, a lot of different gyms out there. And, I always like to point out the fighters that I'm closest to, because I watch directly what they experience if they train under me. So I can talk more about them than I can about anybody else. But I like to point out when somebody's doing something that's really, really honorable for the fight game. And actually, two of my fighters, and I think you've heard me talk about before, Brendan Raymer and Drew Gigax, they're both national champions. Brendan Raymer's fought in Brazil. He got sent over there. Got thrown in a room. I didn't even get to go with him. He's by himself. It was like, like he was at war. Yep. He was scared. He had no idea if they were just going to, take him out and back and shoot him or something. He got set up. He was an amateur, and they set him up to fight their pro fighters. He went in and fought a guy who had, a bunch of fights. And I think this may have been his 4th or 5th fight. It wasn't even that many for him. And he beat that guy. So right after he beat that guy, they immediately told him he had to fight somebody else. They wanted him beat bad. He was not leaving there without losing, and he went in. He almost defeated one of their top guys. But of course he got gassed because he didn't get to eat in between the fight. He didn't get treated right, which that's what I tell all my fighters, guys. If you're going to go to another country, even another state, plan to be set up. Yeah. But that's what true fighting is about, which is something you don't see a lot nowadays. You see a lot of fighters are protected, and they stay on the same show, and they're giving all these credentials, even putting magazines and stuff. And I'm saying, whatever, man, go fight where you're getting set up to lose, and let's see what happens. That's what a real true warrior is about. So I like to point out, that these guys are doing it. They don't get a lot of press. Yeah. They don't get a lot of credentials, a lot of credit, because we're just not in that political world where the media who's reporting in this area is chasing us. Yeah. They're not reporting on us. But I definitely want to point that out. So
he went by himself too, didn't he? He didn't have a cornerman, coach, or nothing. No cornerman, coach, nothing. And of course, it was for Team USA, so it was through Kick International. So they had cornermen provided. But of course, if that's not your guy you're used to, you're just kind of wondering. Yeah, he's by himself. Like, oh my goodness, what's going on here? So, but he came back alive. And he came back honorably alive, which was good. And he's ready to do it again. So this time, Drew's going to be going with him now. Drew Gigax is 4-time Midwest kickboxing champion.
And he's also a national champion. And he just, you heard me talk about his win against a great fighter, tough fighter. I mean, this was, like I said, I grew some gray hairs in the corner, and Drew pulled through with great talent, great heart, great skill. But also, they were both chosen to go to Prague, Czechoslovakia. And if you guys could see the way I spelled that on my paper, you'd be laughing right now. But you know what? You probably couldn't spell it any better. I bet there's nobody listening that can spell it better than I did. Checko. But it spelled it the way it sounds. So.
Well, most people don't even use paper and pen anymore. They use computers.
That's true. Yeah. Well, they don't teach cursive writing in school anymore.
Really?
Yeah, they stopped teaching cursive writing in school.
Huh.
Yeah, and not only that, somebody put up the way they do math nowadays. You know how we do 4 + 4 is 8? Dude, they do it some kind of way where it was all these numbers. I put on Facebook, I said, what in the hell is that? And
really?
They said, this is the homework my kid brought home for me to show them what 4 + 4 is. So they always trying to change things and make things more difficult. It just drives you insane.
I think they all get a notepad too now, like a little computer that sits at their desk.
Yep. Yeah, they get sure do. Oh, look at this. Somebody Bill showing me how to spell. I don't hear a Z in Czechoslovakia anywhere. So see, I can spell it better than them. If they can change writing and math and all that to make it more difficult. Czechoslovakia.
You're silly.
But anyway, so they got chosen for Team USA versus Czechoslovakia. They also got chosen for Team USA versus Cuba and to go to Belgrade and fight. Wow. So these guys are getting selected. And this is the thing, I've had that talk with them. Guys, you're going to fight overseas, because I tell them, look, man, you can't count on, because, sometimes you get ready to go to fight and they change your fighter. Yeah. Or your fighter drops out, you got to fight somebody else. And people, oh, man, that's not who I prepared to fight. I don't want to fight him. And I tell them, look, guys, if you plan on being a real fighter, when you go somewhere, you're going to get set up. Yeah. You're going to somebody else's area, somebody else's zone. They want you to lose. They don't want you to win. Yeah. So if you don't have the mentality where you're ready to fight anybody, you know what I'm saying, then you might as well not be a fighter. Right. Quit trying to sit around and hide from the real fighters, be protected. And they looked at me, it's like, man, hey, it's on, sir. Right. Whoever they put in front of me, let's go. I was like, yeah, so this shows, because when they know they're going to Cuba and Belgrade, they get excited, right? And they know they're probably gonna get set up to get beat, and they are excited to go over there and destroy whoever gets put in front of them. Because the thing about Cuba, Cuba runs everything. They run the trash company. They run the hotels. This is not a fight thrown by a promoter in Cuba. This is thrown by the dictator of Cuba. Wow. So I said, you might be fighting their #1 assassin, right? That just came out of, just left Russia and killed 30 people with a 50 caliber sniper scope, and they throwing him in for you to fight, know. So, and they're ready. But I always like to mention that because I like the community, especially the fight community, to still have respect for these real, true, deep-hearted fighters. Right. Because I think there's a lot of overshadowing that's happening, especially with promotion and marketing. I'll never forget my marketing guy told me, he said, Jermaine, you got a martial arts school. I didn't even know you existed. Yeah. And he sat me down and he said, I could take the worst martial artist in the world and market him and make the world think he's a superstar and make him rich. And they'll pump him like he's a star. He could be nothing. Yeah. While you're sitting over here with no marketing and nobody even knows you exist, and you're the greatest in the world. Mm-hmm. So I definitely want to point out that these guys, Brendan Raymer and Drew Giggix, are true soldiers that are not afraid, that ain't afraid. These are fighters with the warrior spirit, the warrior heart. They ready to go out there and they'll accept the loss, but they don't plan on it. Right. So they're not saying, oh yeah, I might lose. And they say, man, hey sir, I want to kill this guy. And I said, well, here's something to kill him with. Yeah. I'm trying to give them everything they need. So the referee better be on his toes, Yep. And then I like to mention too, we got another little guy named, little Zach Coffey. Mm-hmm. Zach Coffey's been training under me. Now this is the cool thing about him. He's never went anywhere else. He's been Jermaine Andre material since day one. I think I taught him how to crawl, and put a bottle in his mouth. He's been, and his first fight, he destroyed his opponent, and they chose him for Cuba team. For Cuba. They wanted him until we let him know that, dude, that was his first fight. And they said, what? Yeah. That was his first fight, but he spent so much time training, doing everything right. One of the most meticulous people in the world. He picks everything apart. Every 3 seconds I get a text from him asking me about, if he should be standing on his left toe or his right toe. You know what I'm saying? But I tell him that's good. Yeah. You try to pick it apart. You want your car put together perfect. You want to know how everything works. And he just became so dominating as a person who just only had one fight, that they even looked at him for the team.
Yeah, which is a good way. It's okay to train for a while before you fight. It sucks because he has to go up against people, and they say, oh, no, he needs to fight people that have been fighting for a long time. That's not really fair. Why?
Yeah, because he did it right.
Right.
That's true, because now, the thing is, is I always say, do you want to be a fighter or a martial artist?
Yeah.
You'd rather be a martial artist, because a fighter is just a fighter.
Yeah.
He can just fight. And that don't even mean he can fight well. A martial artist can do everything. He can think, he can, he's got compassion, he can, he can do all kinds of stuff, and he can fight, and then even if he can't fight, he can teach, he can help others, he can use self-defense, he can do all kinds of stuff, and then a martial artist can still learn also.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, he became a martial artist and learned the martial arts.
Right.
So when he went in to fight, it was nothing.
Yeah.
He didn't even know, when he was swinging and hitting, his power and everything was so overwhelming that he didn't even know he could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then that's what happens. Now they say, oh, we don't want him to fight beginners because he's too good. But it's like, well, that's not fair. Right. Just because everybody else is going and training for 2 months for a fight and not learning the martial arts, and they're horrible, you know, and he took time and studied for 3 years and learned the martial arts correctly before he put himself out there, and he's coming out, he's shredded, 8-pack, biceps popping out, triceps slim down, hands up, you throw a punch at him, he's blocking everything and not moving backwards. Just because he's doing it correctly doesn't mean it's unfair, and he should have to fight more experienced opponents.
I mean, all three of them are probably more on a pro level than most of the local pros out there.
Well, they're not, they're not guys who are just trying to become pro so they can have a pro label, and that's something that's important too. You see a lot of that nowadays. You watch people who've had 2 fights, 1 fight, and now they're a pro, or they're just horrible, and I've had that talk with them where I stopped them from becoming pro, and I've lost, students because they say, I want to become pro. I'm like, dude, I mean, you're not even a good amateur, but they don't care. They just want that label. I'm a pro fighter, but what kind of pro fighter are you? I mean, honestly, how many people in the audience, this is what I say with a fighter, how many people in the audience can beat you?
Yeah.
Seriously, I'm not saying, you don't have to go on Facebook and this, that. I'm saying, think to yourself, be honest. Can you beat up everybody in the audience? I'm not talking about over ego and all that kind of stuff. And that's the truth. A lot of fans can beat up the fighters.
Yeah.
And so, you want to learn, but I like to always point it out that there are some, these guys, and there's other guys out there from other gyms too who are doing it like that also, who I may not know who they are, but I always like to point out because I'm always happy and proud to see that I've got guys who are really doing it correctly and who are becoming true warriors who started off, like we say, I remember when Drew started spar. When he was, he was there for fitness and just to learn. And he said one day, sir, I want to start sparring. I put him in there, and I never imagined he'd be a fighter. Yeah. Never. He was not taking punches well. He was not blocking well. But he kept coming, kept taking hits, next thing you know, he threw a punch and backed Daryl Cobb up. Yeah. I said, whoa, this dude got potential. And, of course, Daryl had to lay him out for that, for making him back up, But that's the whole thing. You take your lumps and you keep going up. Now he's one of the dominating people in the gym.
Yep.
All right, so moving along, I got to tell you all about this guy that messed with the wrong mom. And check this story out. This happened in Mobile, Alabama. Mobile police arrested 27-year-old Patrick Heron, get that name, everybody, Sunday, September the 6th, and charged him with 4 counts of criminal surveillance after reports of him videotaping and taking photos of customers in the women's restroom at San Miguel's restaurant on Schillinger Road. According to Robin Toomey Glass of Mobile, she and her family were celebrating. That's not Mobile gas station. That's the town of Mobile. She and her family were celebrating at the restaurant when her 11-year-old daughter and a friend went to the restroom together. My daughter's friend didn't want to stand outside of the stall alone, so she went in with my daughter and turned to the wall, said Toomey Glass. That's when she saw him with a cell phone and came and got me. Toomey Glass said she confronted Heron, who initially said he accidentally went into the women's restroom and that he did not have a cell phone. I immediately went into the bathroom and said, and she's quoted saying this, I immediately went into the bathroom and said, I don't know who's in here, but I'm not leaving until you come out, she said. I honestly thought I'd see a 16-year-old on Snapchat or something. Never did I think I'd see this grown man, and I'm guessing he didn't think he'd see a fierce mama. But I just knew my child's face was about to be plastered all over the internet, and I had to protect her. The mother of 3 said Heron would not empty his pockets for her, and once she asked for a manager, he started to run out of the restaurant. I ran after him and I was screaming, "Stop this man. He was taking naked pictures of my child in the bathroom." I knew I had to stop him, she said. The restaurant was crowded and there were people outside waiting. That's when 2 gentlemen chased him down and a 3rd man later followed. Well, that's good that those guys went after him. According to Toomey Glass, police found at least 15 photos of minors on Herman's phone and one adult female. While mobile police spokesperson Terrence Perkins said the department cannot get into specifics of the case, he said officers responded to the location in reference to a male and a female restroom. The officer detained 27-year-old Patrick Harron. Following the interview, Harron was arrested and charged with 4 counts of criminal surveillance. So,
wow.
You can see there, look at how that could have turned out if that mom hadn't jumped on that. You know, and that's what's really important is when we say, you know, you got to pay attention to what's going on around you. And it's good that the 2 girls went together.
Right.
You know, and this is just what was that? That was at a restaurant?
Yeah.
You know, this is not a nightclub.
Right, not a nightclub.
Yeah, or something like that. This is a restaurant, but that's how crazy this is getting out there.
Yeah.
And that's why you got to always be on guard. Like you said, this dude sitting there collecting pictures, he might have started stalking. And, you know, that's something we'll get into later. Another thing I read about where somebody's phone was actually being used, a teen girl's phone, a college girl was being used as a surveillance device by human traffickers. And they were following her cell phone. They put a device in her cell phone. They think that it happened through the cell phone store. Wow. That they had somebody working at the store that had a surveillance. They were putting surveillance devices in these college girls' phones, so human traffickers could follow and kidnap.
So they didn't pinpoint somebody and put it in hers. They were just putting it in phones.
Yeah, no, in the individual girls' phones. They were selecting the girls. So
wow.
I got to research more on it, you know. But I'm saying that's how bad it's getting. So we're going to go back to what we were talking about. But that just made me think of that. But that's how bad it's getting. That this is a restaurant.
Yeah,
you know, an 11-year-old girl. I mean, that's a baby.
Yeah.
You know, and this dude is stalking an 11-year-old girl, getting off, you know, that's crazy. So it's good mom was paying attention, and she had her kids taught to go together, and the kids were paying attention. And when they felt uncomfortable, that's something like I teach kids, like, you know, people will bring their kid up, especially little girl. Oh, this is Jermaine. This is the Master Chief. And, you know, and I say, how you doing? And the kid will hide from me. And they'll say, no, I say, no, don't make them do that.
Yeah.
If they're not comfortable with this big, muscle-bound, crazy-looking man, don't force them. Yeah, that's good. You know, tell them that's okay. You don't have to hug him. You don't have to shake his hand. You don't have to anything with him. You don't have to be near him. Right. And that's good that these kids, when they felt uncomfortable, boom, immediately reported to mom. And mom didn't just forget. It's probably the janitor. Yeah. Oh, it's just no big deal. Hey, I'm busy talking right now. I'm doing something. Right. You know? She got up and she went and investigated. And when she felt that it was weird, she stayed on it. Yeah. You know, and then those men that went after him, that's about time some men stood up. Yep. You know, and luckily they didn't bloody up too much where he's going to get off. You know, because he got beat up.
So we got to keep raising awareness about that kind of stuff because it does work. So.
Well, I'm always posting on my Facebook page everything, and people always send me stuff. You know, so we always try and keep that awareness up. You know, because like I said, these criminals are smart now. Yep. You know, they're using all kinds of tricky stuff. They're not out there just, you know, being dummies. And you got to be smart too and just pay attention. And awareness is key. You know, you keep your awareness up, you probably won't even ever have to use self-defense. Yeah. So that's good. Mess with the wrong mom on that one. They got his butt. Okay. So what we got first here for martial art movie messages?
Yep. First movie is Karate Kid.
Does everybody remember Karate? And I'm talking the
old one.
The original Karate Kid. I don't even want to talk about that new one. You know, if we want to talk about bad movie messages, then we'll talk about that new Karate. I don't know what that crap was. Oh man, you know, and I love Will Smith and the message he sent with his whole life, not his movie message, just his whole life. Well, except that one movie where he's playing that one part.
This was his son.
Well, his son, you know, but I didn't like the part his son played at all. You know, that movie was very. You know, I mean, he was bossing the instructor around. Then he did that double backflip kick that they didn't even train to learn. You know, so it was total.
Pretty much when you probably talk about your movie, I mean, positive movie messages, it's going to be total opposite of everything that happened in the new one.
Yeah, I might do that. You know, horrible movie messages. I'll do. You know what? That's going to be the next. So let's stick to the good martial art movie message, Karate Kid. One thing I like to point out in that one was that Danny always had courage in the beginning of that. When you watch that movie, when they first started picking on him, you know, and every time they tried to beat him up, Danny would try to fight back. Right. You know, Danny wasn't a punk. He may have been a skinny, you know, geek or whatever somebody might want to call him. But to me, Danny was a courageous dude. You know, remember they had the
especially since it was always one against like three or four.
Right. Yeah, it was one. Yeah, against 3 or 4 karate rich guys. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So he was taking on the cream of the crop in that neighborhood. Mm-hmm. Like, and he really showed it, the part when he went to the dance. And he was dressed like a shower curtain.
Yeah.
Because he didn't want to get seen. And he put that water hose in when they was in the bathroom, the Cobra Kai guys were smoking weed in the bathroom, and he poured the water on them, know, and he knew they was going to come after him and beat him up. Yeah. But that's the one thing, that's what made Danny trainable.
Yeah.
Was that Danny still was not a coward. He still would stand up. He still would try to fight. Even when he got beat up numerous times.
Yeah.
He always stood up and said, I'm not giving in to terrorism.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be your sissy. You're not going to do me like that. You're going to have to beat me up, before I back down. So that was definitely, I think that was a hidden message. And that's why I like to call these hidden movie messages that a lot of people didn't see, about that movie.
Yeah, he was a shower curtain. That's funny.
That was pretty funny. Another thing that you see in that movie that I think is even getting lost nowadays is that him and what was
Mr. Miyagi.
Mr. Miyagi, yep, that was his name. That him and Mr. Miyagi were friends.
Yeah.
They actually cared for each other and they respected each other.
Right.
Miyagi didn't mistreat him. He didn't mistreat Miyagi. It wasn't a thing of he was just trying to learn martial arts from Miyagi so he can go beat some people up and seek revenge. They actually developed a friendship.
Yeah.
And you can see that. And they both had, patience and trust in one another. Because he had, Danny, when he started Danny off, the first thing he had him doing was cleaning. Cleaning.
Wax on, wax off.
Yeah, wax on, wax off.
Wax on, right hand. Wax off, left hand. Wax on, wax off. Breathe in through nose, out the mouth.
Fixing cars, clean up his cars. And Danny thought he wasn't learning anything, but Danny put up with it for a long time before he finally said, man, I'm not learning anything here. What am I doing? And then that's where he said, Daniel, son, wax on. And he threw the punch and he waxed on and wax off, paint the fence. And he threw the kick and he blocked the kick and he saw that he was learning something.
Yeah.
Show me wax on, wax off. Catch! That! Look eye, always look eye. Look my eye. Look eye, always look eye. Come back tomorrow.
But the whole thing that was good is that, and that's something I always explain to students, is you have to have trust in your trainer because there's going to come a time where I'm going to tell you to do something that you may not believe it.
Right.
But if you think that you know better than the trainer does and you don't do it, he can't ever train you.
Right.
Because there's going to be that's why he's there to train you, because he knows stuff that you don't know. And what he was doing was he was programming Danny's brain to subconsciously make these movements.
Yeah.
And he didn't know the whole time he's sitting there painting the fence, that's you sitting here learning this block to block a strike to the head and block a low kick, a front snap kick to the groin or to the midsection area. But the fact that they had that patience and that trust in one another was something that made them where they could work with each other.
Plus, nothing. I mean, his training was free, so that probably was a little bit of his dues too of having him work.
Yeah, which is something that a lot of people think they don't owe.
Yeah,
they want to get martial arts training, they don't want to pay. Can I get a discount? That's what we was talking about today. Everybody want a discount. It can be worth $100,000. You sell it for 10, and they want to discount at 5. Just to tell you that it's more that what's the word? That you're lucky to be training them, or you're lucky to be giving them your product.
Right.
That's what they want to make you feel like.
Well, so it was a lot of things. It was them spending time together. They still, in everything he was doing, it was built off of what, their friendship, the relationship, that you still have to do hard work, that you still have to trust your trainers. So the whole idea of the, whole movie was just a really good message. Well,
it showed the one thing it showed was the bonding between the trainer and the student, which is something you don't get nowadays. Because what happens is, especially with the fight fad, everybody just wants to, they're there for glory.
Yeah.
They're not there for honor. They're there for glory. They just want to get their hand raised and get, I'm the one. I'm a MMA fighter. I'm a UFC fighter. And go to the local bar and everybody pat them on the back, say they're a star. And that's what I like, is they showed the building of that relationship. Because one of the main things I deal with, like even when I deal with, my fighters, my competitors, even students, is dealing with their personal life and their personal issues, and me knowing them personally. Yeah. And know that they can come to me when they got something going on in their life that's going to affect their fight game. Yeah. Or that's going to affect their training. Yeah. That's more important. And that's what I like, where it showed, where even when you moved into Karate Kid Part 2, and UFC Part 2?
Yeah,
I think you watched with me.
Yeah.
And I think Miyagi, he had to go back and had to face an old enemy. His name was Sato. So I love that name. And he was like, I'm killing you, Miyagi, because you stole my girlfriend or whatever. And Miyagi had to face him. It was Miyagi's old best friend, and Miyagi didn't want to fight him, but Danny went with him.
Yeah.
And he told Danny he couldn't go. But Danny's like, no, you my friend. And that's that's the loyalty that's missing now between the instructor and the trainer, where the students they don't care what happens to the trainer. And Danny ended up having to fight Sato's, number one student to the death.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. That's why I like it shows that, as your martial instructor and your trainer, you spend so much time together, and this dude is making you a deadly weapon.
Right.
Like I'll never forget when I was training under Ron Smith, and I was training, hitting the back, and I seen Ron look up, and he looked out the window, and he grabbed a hammer, and he went outside.
Yeah.
So I took my gloves off, and I ran out behind him.
Yeah.
And when I ran out, he was coming in, and he like, what the? He said, what are you doing? I said, following you. He said, what do you follow me for? I said, well, I saw you run out with the hammer like something was wrong, or somebody was out here. And he looked at me and said, what was you going to do? I said, help you. And he didn't understand that.
Yeah.
And I said, and I looked and I was like, where's everybody else? Why am I the only one out here with him? You know what I'm saying? And, and we went back in. He was like, man, what was you going to do? I said, man, they got to fight me before they fight you, whoever it is. He said, really? I said, yeah. And I mean, of course, Ron would do that for Crew Pat,
right.
No hands down, but that chain has been broken.
Yeah.
Where the student is dedicated to the instructor. It's just like, when I trained at Muay Thai with Ron, I would have people always trying to pull me to go train somewhere else. Mm-hmm. Jermaine, you need to go here, you need to go there, you need to get this there. And even when I started, I started my grappling training with Brian Madden, mm-hmm. and who he brought to me, right when I started with Ron.
Right.
So it was an equal thing, but they all knew each other and got along.
Right.
But I always said to myself, I don't need to go learn this. I'm going to use Ron's stuff, what he's teaching me, and I'm going to turn this into the baddest weapon on the planet.
Right.
And now because I'm not leaving my trainer, because the most important bond that Ron and I had was as friends.
Right.
And he could get into my head and my spirit deeper mm-hmm. than me just going over here because some new school just opened that teaches this or teaches that, and then that's the new famous thing that everybody's doing.
Yeah. Not only that, Danny and Mr. Miyagi had a good relationship, but even better. I mean, not better, but even what was the guy he was fighting all the time? Oh, Johnny. Was that it?
Johnny, yeah.
And even his relationship that he kind of feared his instructors even better than what's happening nowadays. You're better to even have a little bit of fear than to think that you're better than your trainer because you pay them dues. You know what I'm saying? Yep. Like now, they don't even look at their sensei as a sensei. They look at it as a business person.
A softball coach.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a softball coach. So, I'm going to learn softball over here now because he didn't train me fast enough.
Right.
I've been over there for 3 months and I've shown up to 4 classes and I can't, I'm not the baddest guy in the neighborhood yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's a really good point right there. So moving along off of Karate Kid, what's the next one we got here?
Next one is
Kung Fu Hustle.
Kung Fu Hustle.
And I think and that had a really, really good point. First of all, if you haven't seen Kung Fu Hustle, you need to see it. It's hilarious.
It is hilarious.
Very, very well put together. I mean, excellent put together movie. So make sure you see that.
I remember when you first started having me watch it, I was like, the first probably 10 minutes, I was like, I am not watching this. This is retarded. It was so silly at first, but it just got so good.
That's the thing. It's so good put together. Well, with the Axe Gang.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Starts off with these gangsters, and they actually doing what do you call it? Dancing to the they were dancing and killing people and dance, and you like. What the? And I even looked like, what in the heck is this crap? But then when he put it on him with that axe, I was like, oh, this is kind of, they drew me in, and then they really just started building off of it, and it's really original.
It is.
The way they put it together, because it's kind of cinematic.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's almost like they could have did this on stage.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, got to see it.
Even when the lady came down in the robe and the cigarette in her mouth, I was like, what is going on? After that, probably the first 10 minutes, I was hooked. I loved it.
Well, did you remember the chase scenes? They got chase scenes where she's running. They got cartoon legs and the legs, and they got cartoon music playing, and you just like, what are they doing?
Yeah.
One of the main things I like about it is they show you in this movie the main guy, he's a bad guy, he actually ends up going up against, because he's running around and he wants to be the great martial artist. He never can become this great martial artist, so he turns into a bad guy.
Yeah.
Which, trust me, I understand the idea on that philosophy there. And he's trying to be a robber and a killer. He wants to join this gang, the biggest, Chinese gang in the area. Mm-hmm. And so he's trying to get initiated in and do all this stuff. Well, he ends up they end up getting some good guys that pop up and they beat up the gang and stuff like that. So the gang goes and pulls this master who imprisoned himself because he got so tired of beating up everybody.
Yeah.
He had discovered that there was no challenge for him, so he just put himself in prison.
Yeah.
Let himself be caught. And so they finally feel that they found these other two people that he can fight. Mm-hmm. And so they go and get him out of prison and say, hey, we got a challenge for you. Well, with the main character, what they end up doing with him, the guy who's trying to be a great martial artist, who's trying to get initiated into this gang, he ends up seeing the great martial artist fighting these other two good guys and beating them.
Yeah.
So he attacks this great martial artist, and of course he's got no skill whatsoever. This great martial artist dude is in. I'm telling you, they make him do some bad stuff. It's dope. It's one of the best put together fight stuff and it's funny and hilarious at the same time. And he's this funny looking old man wearing glasses and flip flops, yeah. And he is just bad. They just making him do. He's raising his leg and he throws a kick and it splits a building in half. You know what I'm saying? So it's really, really good and entertaining. But the kid attacks him and he just destroys his kid. Yeah. He beats his face literally beats his face into the ground and breaks him apart. Well, the cool thing is that the kid heals.
Yeah.
And when he heals, he comes back as this great martial artist. And even though it happens fast in the movie and stuff like that, you got to watch the movie to really get a hang of what I'm saying. The message that they send is something you hear me saying a lot, is that you have to be broken down before you can release your chi.
Yeah.
And that's what really pulled me into the movie, because when he got beat down like that, and he'd been trying to practice martial art and he wasn't any good at it. And then he got beat down. He took this beating from this guy. And even when he was smashed, this great martial artist, the bad guy, said, "What did you hit me for?" And he picked up a little stick and hit him on the head just to insult him,
yeah.
While he's laying there half dead. And then this great martial artist smashed him more. I'm saying, well, what's the significance of this? And then they healed in probably about one day, and he came out as this great martial artist. I'm like, well, how are they going to make him heal that fast?
Yeah.
But then the two good guys said, his chi has been released.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they really trying to lay it down there, because I always tell you got to take a serious beat down where your chi comes out to who you truly are and your spirit stands up before you can even use the power of your body. Just like I have to take, students in there and I have to say, most people, you hold yourself back. You know what I'm saying? And you have to be pushed to the limit before you even going to respond. And that's called releasing your chi. And I think that was a really good message that they sent in a tricky way.
Yeah.
That this dude, after all he'd been through, he bought all these martial art books, tried to train in the martial arts, tried to do this, got beat up. We're going to cover that part where he got beat up and got urinated on. Tried to, and tried to join a gang and become a bad guy and kill people, tried to do everything to become this great martial art. But it wasn't until he stood up and took a serious beating almost to death to stand for what's right, that his chi was released.
When he still didn't even see it in himself. It's the woman and the man that saw that in him. They rescued him and they went and helped him to heal, and then with them having that faith in him and believing in him too is what really helped him release his chi. Which goes back to, it's almost like the trainer, them almost kind of being like his trainer. Yep.
Well, as he was healing, that's when they said, it was like, how's he healing so fast?
Yeah.
This may be the one. So, and then that was the thing too that was good also, is that which goes, another good thing they showed was he had gotten to see when he was learning, as a kid, he was learning all these martial arts, studying. And remember, they was even showing that he had a little power, like he was studying his technique was the rotating palm.
Yeah.
And so he's learning the palm strikes, and he was practicing katas, and he threw his palm strike, and the leaves on the trees would move. He's like, and he'd do it, and the leaves on the tree would move, was showing that he had some power. Well, so he's walking down the street, mind his own business, and it was 4 or 5 boys picking on this little girl who was blind, and they were taking her candy. And he's like, stop. And he went over there, break it up. And he took his karate stance, and they're like, and these dudes are way bigger than him. And he's like, hey, up. And he hit the dude with a palm strike in the chest, and it didn't do anything.
And he fell backwards, I think.
No, it just went. And he stopped, and he's like, what the? And they're like, you little boom, and they slugged him, and he dropped, and he beat him down, beat him up, and then they peed on him.
Yeah.
You know, and then, of course, after they ran off, and the girl was like, thank you, and she tried to hand him a sucker, and he jumped up, and he cried, knocked the sucker out of her hand, and ran off.
Yeah.
You know, but that was something that I wanted to show, too, as a really good point, was a lot of people got to understand that just because you do something right doesn't mean you're going to win. Because you watch all these, you know, Jason Statham movies and, you know, who else? Steven Seagal. And whenever they, you know, stand up for the lady that's getting beat down, they win.
Yeah.
You know, up, all this Superman stuff happen, and they win. You know, but you have to understand that you may stand up for something right and get your ass kicked.
Yeah.
You know, that's what's real.
Right, you might not get rewarded.
Yeah, and the thing is, your reward is that you did the right thing.
Right.
You know, he won because he saved that girl.
Right.
You know, but he didn't see that at that moment.
Right.
You know, he thought his kung fu was going to work, you know, but the kung fu is what made him stand up to save that girl.
Yeah.
So I like how they point that out, that, you know, that's something I always tell people. Just because you stand up for what's right doesn't mean you're always going to win. You got to be willing to fall for what's right. Mm-hmm. You know, so, and that's something I like that they showed on there also.
Well, and him being humiliated was the lesson. He just didn't know it too.
Right.
So a lot of times you are winning with the message. You just don't know what the message is.
Well, and it showed him that his martial arts didn't work at that moment.
Yeah.
You know, but at the very end, when it really mattered and he really had to battle evil to save the community, then what he learned worked. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I'm telling you, I got to watch this movie. He was doing some bad stuff, man. He was, remember he stomped everybody's foot, and he was doing moves that were realistic.
Yeah.
You know, these guys coming up swinging these axes, and he would take a slight step to the left and just let they axe, because all their body weight was going that way, and just let it breeze right by him. He'd watch it go, and I'm like, that's kind of like how it feels when you get good. I would do that with people when they swing, and I just, you know, you just watch it go by, and it's like, I know from the position of your body and what you're doing where that's going. Yeah. And they were showing it really good. So,
like the Matrix when he was shooting, but dodging bullets. That was kind of.
I guess that's a good example.
Well, just in case people haven't
I haven't tried to dodge a bullet yet, though. Even though I do believe it may be possible.
One of my favorite scenes is whenever they had all the crowd, and he was like, I'll fight anybody. And he was like, I'll fight you. And he picked a little guy, and he stood up.
And the guy stood up, he's big. He's like,
really
quit cheating. He said, quit cheating. Sit down. Well, he ended up picking a woman. And she came up and punched him in the stomach. He's like, oh, you're too strong. You're cheating. Go sit down.
Yep.
You out there, if you want to wake the Lord of the Axe Gang, you're welcome to take a step forward. Oh, so you want to be annihilated. All right. You all know the rules. It's one at a time. And I don't want to see anyone trying to cheat. You, the onion lady, come here. Uh-huh. You think you're so tough? I'll tell you what. You take the first crack. Put it right here. Do you lift weights?
No, honey. I raise cattle.
Lucky for you, you're important to the economy. Now get back in line.
Nutcase.
What? You watch your mouth. Thank your stars you're a woman, otherwise.
Well, and the main thing I like, I think a hidden message that is sent. You know, those are the three. I got three messages on that. But the first one, you have to be pushed to be, you know, to where you're broken to release your chi.
Yeah.
You know, you got to get to that point where you're just getting tore down. You know, and I think that even happens even like, you know, with college and stuff. You know, you hear these college kids, oh my God, they're driving me crazy. They're giving me too much, and I think they're pushing you to break that brain till you can step over and become this great thing. You know, even with your brain, it's the same thing. But then the next one was just because you do right doesn't promise you a win. You know, he stood up for that girl and he got beat up and peed on.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But he still did what was right and he still protected that girl. That was the win.
Yeah.
You know, and I've had situations like that in bodyguarding where I stood up against, it was probably 8 people, knives and everything, and I fought and I woke up in my own blood. But the people that I protected were alive.
Yeah.
And they didn't have a scratch on them. And I said, yeah, I won. You know, well, I'm sitting in mine. I got scars on my face today from that. You know, I'm like, yeah, I won, and teeth missing. And how'd you win, man? You got, you know, because they're alive. That was my objective.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not, this ain't a movie, man. You know, this ain't a movie where the script is written. So I like how they showed that. And then the last and least was they showed that, you know, he fought the main bad guy, I'm telling you, this bad guy's dope. And they fought and he defeated him. Mm-hmm. And then the bad guy even tried to cheat after he defeated him and tried to kill him and trick him.
Yeah.
And he caught him, and the bad guy pulled out he had this like a not a knife, but more like a little spear, like a short spear. Mm-hmm. And he had it up his sleeve and he tried to stab him with it, and he blocked it and took it from him. And then he could have, of course, stabbed him back, but he turned it into a flower. And it flew off, and the bad guy looked, and he said, how did you do that? And he said, would you show me? But what it showed was that him sparing a life, even of the bad guy, was that's the greatest power. I always tell people that you want to get to where you got awareness, and and then you're aware of what's going on around you, and then you get to the point to where you expect and you can predict what people are doing. Then you get to the point where you hope somebody tried. I hope somebody so I can try. Then you get to the point of, I'm waiting for somebody to try so I can use my stuff. Then you get to the point of somebody tries it and you beat them down and you can kill them. You got every right to kill them, and you don't. Yeah, that's the greatest power in the martial arts, and they show that because he had every reason to kill this dude. Yeah, and he calmed himself and showed him something beautiful. Yeah. And the bad guy went and he dropped and started crying. He dropped into tears and said, Master. But that showed that saving and sparing a life is more powerful than taking one. Right. That created such a great power that it made this great master who had killed and beat everybody bow to him, not because he beat him up, because he had already won to beat him up. He tried to cheat and kill him, but because he didn't kill him when he could have, and he had every right to. Yeah. And that impressed him more, that you made something beautiful when, how did you do that? I'm
going to have to rewatch it because I didn't catch that message.
Yeah, I know. Most people don't catch that. That's why I say a lot of these people make movies, man. I think they really know a lot and they be putting stuff in there, that people don't see. And that's why I like to point that out. But yeah, if you see that even evil had to bow to good at that moment. Because he didn't, say, I'm taking from her. Stop, I'll stab your eyeball out. Okay, don't kill me. He took and then and made it floated off like a flower. He looked at the flower. He didn't even look at the bad guy. Yeah. He's like, and the bad guy looked and and he dropped down and started crying.
I remember that.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But that was really powerful. I was like, right on, man. Whoever made this movie is really trying to send a message to all us knuckleheads. So.
Yeah. Well, he made him see it in a different light, which is important. Yep. I'll have to rewatch that one.
Yes, you will. So I know we're going to be watching for the next couple of days. All right, I see my favorite coming up.
Yes, Kung Fu Panda.
Yeah. Now, you got anything any message you want to pull out on before I steal the mic?
No, I'm good with what you're talking about.
I'm going to kill it on Kung Fu Panda.
You're pointing some out, so I'm going to have to rewatch a lot of them. So.
All right, well, I mean, first of all, the thing is that everybody's different and learns how to use everything different in the martial arts. I made a point about even some of our clients, that you've got some clients who may not be able to drop the weight. Okay. And even if you can't drop the weight and start doing jump, spinning, flying, I can still train you to be a great martial artist the way that you are. Mm-hmm. And that was one of the things. Kung Fu Panda came up there. For those, I hope everybody's seen Kung Fu Panda. If you haven't, you need to go get it. That's one of the best movies ever made. It's a cartoon. Yeah. And it's still it's good for adults too. But Kung Fu Panda was overweight. He wasn't, he got selected as the Dragon Warrior by accident. Yep. And, but
there are no accidents.
Yeah, there are no accidents. Remember when he say, I got some bad news. Yeah. What's the name of it? He went what's his name? Shifu.
Shifu, yeah.
Went to the head guy and said, I have some bad news. And it was because, what was the bad guy's name?
Tai Lung.
Tai Lung had escaped. Yeah. And the master's like floating on this thing, on his cane. There are no bad news. And he said, Tai Lung has escaped. He said, ooh, that's bad news.
Master. Mm-hmm. I have, it's very bad news.
Shifu. There is just news. There is no good or bad.
Master, your vision was right. Tai Lung has broken out of prison. He's on his way.
That is bad news.
And that's what I like, too, how they show, too, that even the great master sometimes can be wrong. Yeah. And he can admit to it. He didn't have no problem. Man, whoa, that is bad news. He's sitting there floating, thinking he got everything together. And he admitted to his own guy under him that, that is bad news,
Yeah.
But getting back to that, they do a real good job of showing that, Kung Fu Panda didn't learn martial arts the same way. He looked up to the Furious Five, the Tigress, the crane, the monkey, the snake, and the praying mantis. Yep. And he couldn't learn. He didn't have their powers. And as a matter of fact, his power was totally opposite of what you expect the powers in the martial arts to be. Mm-hmm. So still they show in that movie that you can still train in the martial arts even though he couldn't drop 10,000 pounds and become this muscle-bound, fanatic. Yep. So that was something that I liked, that it showed. Because the martial arts is for anybody who wants to do it.
Right.
And you don't, even though there may be certain techniques you can't, now, of course, you can't do the same technique tigers could do.
Right.
But tigers couldn't do the same techniques that, that the little mantis could do.
Mm-hmm.
So they did a really, really good job of showing that. Which another one of the points was showing that your weakness can become a strength when focused on properly, which is something that I always,
absolutely
try to tell everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Kung Fu Panda was fat.
Mm-hmm.
And remember when he, that was one of the main things they talked bad about him.
Yeah.
Was that he was fat.
Right.
You're never going to be the Dragon Warrior. You're a fat, pudgy, this and that, your eating habits, blah, 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 blah. Well, the good thing is when he fought Tai Lung, remember Tai Lung beat the Furious Five with his nerve attack.
Yeah.
That he had learned from Shifu. And he was, him and who was a Kung Fu Panda were fighting. And first of all, Kung Fu Panda was acting a fool because he was a clown.
Yeah.
And he was beating Tai Lung by acting a fool because he was having fun. And Tai Lung was getting frustrated. Why is this dude acting a fool with me? Because everybody else is so serious. And he's, bouncing off, boing, hitting him with his stomach and everything. And Tai Lung's like, okay, I'm done with you. And he tried to hit him with a nerve pinch, but it couldn't penetrate his fat.
Yeah.
And it tickled him. So the whole fact that he was fat is what saved him. Now, he used his nerve pinch on all of the Furious Five, defeated them. He could have killed them.
Yeah.
But he just paralyzed them all because he wanted to send a message back home that this is what I can do to your great people. And then when he's the point, so he hit him, woo, and Kung Fu Panda's laugh, woo,
right.
So his weakness of being fat was his strength.
Right.
And then he actually used his stomach and stuff. When Tai Lung would rush him, he hit him with his stomach and knock him through walls and stuff like that. So I like how they showed how if you believe in yourself, that your weakness might be the strength that can overcome the person that everybody else couldn't overcome.
Stop it. Oh, I'm going to pee. Don't.
Yeah, because he didn't even believe in himself in the beginning. He agreed with them on everything they were saying when they said, you can't be the Dragon Warrior. And he was like, I know I can't,
Yeah, well, that's the thing. He was enthused to be there, and that's something, too, that I have to point out what here it says, your training can be lost more than the student.
Mm-hmm.
He was having fun being there.
Yeah.
But he knew he wasn't supposed to be selected.
Right.
And, he always wanted to be there. And that's something, too, his confidence and his enthusiasm, your confidence and enthusiasm can sometimes supersede skill and talent. And what I mean by that, remember the part where he first started training, they was like, okay, let's get started. You're level 1. And he got tore up, got burnt and everything. He said, there's now level 0.
Yeah.
And then he said they wanted to get rid of him. So they all beat him up.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, your first opponent will be Tigers. And Tigers put it on Popeye. And he's like, yeah, come on, bring it. And there, you can see Shifu looking at him like, what the heck? And he's like, son, Monkey, get him. And then Monkey, ping, pop. And he's like, yeah, oh, that hurts. Oh, you're killing me here. Yeah, bring it, baby. And then Shifu finally is like, your next opponent will be me.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, all right, let's go, baby. Bring it. And they're beating him up.
Yeah.
But his confidence and his enthusiasm to want to be there superseded his skill.
Right.
Because they could not break him. Mm-hmm. They were trying to break him at that moment.
Right.
And they couldn't break him because he was there to take his butt whippings and he was happy to be there.
Yeah.
So sometimes you don't have to be good.
Yeah.
Just be happy to be there and that'll pull you through. Absolutely. And I like how they showed that when they did that. I said, they really showing a lesson here. Mm-hmm. They're trying to get rid of him, but he's so enthused and happy to be here that they can't defeat him. Mm-hmm. And he defeated them right then and there and put them at a point of, we can't get rid of this guy.
Yeah.
Because I remember they tried to go to they went to his thing and he went to his barracks the next morning, looked in, he wasn't in there, but he was in the thing trying to do splits, stretching and stuff. So I think that was a really good point. And then, like you say, when they finally got down to the point where he overheard them saying that they didn't want him there, and he had to talk with Shifu, his instructor.
Yeah.
And he told him, dude, I know I'm not the Dragon Warrior. I don't know how are you going to turn this into the Dragon Warrior? And Shifu said, dude, I don't know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that was really good because it showed how the trainer was lost.
Yeah.
But what it taught, which is like we talk a lot about now, like a lot of the people go to martial arts schools to learn, and they don't give their trainer time to even get to know them, was that a lot of times when a trainer is training somebody, he's lost. We're trying to figure you out. I don't know what you're going to do. How can I, you're not a machine. You're not responding. When I click this to this and say, if I get him to go to, you're not doing that. You're not operating that way today. You're not a robot. And it showed that sometimes the trainer is lost and the student has to be patient and give the trainer a minute to figure it out.
Absolutely.
And I love that when he said, I don't know. I almost cried. I think I did cry. Okay, I cried, everybody. But he said, I don't know how I'm going to turn that into the Dragon War. I was like, and then for him to admit it to his student, but then right there, Kung Fu Panda still trusted him. And he was patient enough to say, I trust that you'll figure it out.
Right.
And Shifu
that was the moment of the movie.
Exactly. And Shifu had enough confidence in himself to be patient with himself and to step back in belief in himself to say, I got to figure this out.
Yeah.
The trainer's not always just this guy who's got all the answers.
Right.
He's still trying to figure it out too, but the students got to be there to allow him to figure it out.
Right.
So,
really good.
I really like how they showed that also.
Yep.
But my main thing with that one was that, you see here, I like how they showed that you may be the one who accomplished what your heroes couldn't accomplish, making you the hero.
Yeah.
The whole time Kung Fu Panda was kissing up to the Furious Five. Oh, Tiger's this and that, and Tiger's hated him. You don't belong here. You're a fat, blah, blah, blah. Everybody kind of disliked him. I think the only one who liked him from the beginning was a snake.
Well,
remember the snake? I watched her. Watch her. She gets mad when Tigers picks on him.
Yeah.
And everybody picks on him. She hisses and looks at him. And I think she liked him the whole way.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool how they did that with the characters. I was watching. But the whole thing is that, you have to show that you have to believe in yourself, that you may even become greater than your own heroes.
Right.
And that's what it showed, that what they couldn't do because he believed in himself, he wouldn't accomplish what the people who he thought he could never be like.
Yeah.
Couldn't accomplish. Now he's their hero. And in the movies after that, now he's a Dragon Warrior.
Right.
And they're all looking up to him.
Yep.
So that was some good lessons from Kung Fu Panda.
Yep. Now I'm going to have to watch that one again, too. I'll have to watch all these this week.
Well, that's why I try to I like to point out these what I call hidden movie messages.
Yeah.
Because it'll make you watch it and you can look for that. And I'm telling you, I can find more too. So if we watch it, I'll probably find more messages.
Well, it's good to know, because a lot of people just watch movies just, for entertainment purposes. But when you know that there's those messages, when you rewatch it, you start looking at things different. So I like that.
Well, and that's the thing. It brings more value to the movie.
Yeah.
And I think that's something, you notice nowadays, you guys will pull up, you or Caitlin or somebody pull up a martial art movie. And I don't watch martial art movies now because now it's just a bunch of beat down crap.
Yeah.
That's what they're taking. You think about the martial art movie stars nowadays, and there aren't many good messages in the movies.
Yeah.
It's just kicking somebody through a wall and kicking butt and stuff like that, and so that's why I just kind of, I'm losing my interest.
Yeah.
So listeners, if you know of any good movies, that's martial art movies that send a message, let me know.
Actually, a lot of cartoons give messages more than even regular movies. There's a lot of cartoons out there that give good messages.
Well, especially, I don't know, what would you call them?
Like Pixels.
Those types that are really put together, Disney movies and things like that.
That's what I'm talking about.
Like Mulan and, because I can think of all the old martial art movies too, Mulan and stuff like that. They always send some kind of good message. But I think what's happening is everybody's so into the rush, and the technology. They just want to see explosions and boom, boom. They want to boom, 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 the whole movie. Which, a lot of martial movies are exciting. I still see some of them, but nothing that I'm, if we accidentally put one in, I watch it, I'm like, oh, that was some cool stuff.
Yeah.
Cool graphics, cool, like Raid Redemption. I don't think there was a strong morale to that, but that's one of the baddest martial art movies in the world.
It was.
They got some of the baddest, fight scenes I've ever seen, so still I enjoy it. But as far as, morale that I think they send, trying to send a good hidden message, that's a few movies, Karate Kid, Kung Fu Hustle, Kung Fu Panda, that I think you guys should check out, that, that might give you, a good feeling after you watch it.
Definitely.
Yeah, yep. So, well, anything else? You got anything on those?
I think that was it. All good messages.
All right. Well, everybody remember, we still look for those reviews. You got any reviews you want to send us? You give them to us on, iTunes. iTunes, give us some reviews. You can always find Rebecca and I on Facebook. Also, if you look for us on Facebook and you're coming from Life Fight, send us a message.
Absolutely.
Because I get, we get a lot of, people trying to get on our page, and we're really careful who we allow on our page, because we don't want a lot of stupid stuff on there. We don't want a lot of, obscene stuff on there, and a lot of people use their Facebook pages for that exact reason. So we filter through our friends So if you're somebody who's, hey, I'm from Life Fight, send us a message. Hey, Jermaine, or hey, Rebecca, this is blah, blah, blah. I listen to you on Life Fight, and I want you to friend me, and then we'll friend you a lot faster. If not, it might take 2 or 3 months, before we even pull you up, because we're filtering, we're checking pages, making sure it's a real person. We got to go through their profiles, make sure they don't have something stupid and offensive on there that's going to offend, one of the 15-year-old kids who are looking at our page and things like that. But yeah, we always looking for feedback from you. Let us know what your thoughts are. Give us those reviews. And I guess that's it.
That's it.
So check out those movies if you get a chance. Karate Kid, Kung Fu Hustle, Kung Fu Panda. And remember, this is Jermaine Andre with Life Fight. Rebecca Beck signing off.
Take care.
Because there's more to life than just fighting. Take care.
For all things Jermaine Andre, get books, get trained. Learn the secrets behind his brawn, his brain, and his edge. Visit JermaineAndre.com. Life Fight with Jermaine Andre is another positive production of RareGem Productions. Thanks for listening.